Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, we need to take a look at what currently exists within the traditional school system for out-of-school youth and individuals who are disenfranchised, who are slow, or who have special needs. Because last time I checked, we currently have things like technological and vocational courses by virtue of things like K-12, specifically targeted to already help these individuals who are disenfranchised and need to be able to get a job as soon as possible. We also currently have things like SPED or special educations programs to be able to help those who have mental health disabilities or to those who are a bit slower and who are on the spectrum. These things in and of itself are already part of the traditional educational system that already exists to be able to help these individuals. Meaning, the previous speaker and side government has to explain how ALS is different. And this is the burden push I'm going to give from LO, specifically because if you read the info slide, these are non-formal and which we also have to understand are not necessarily institutionalized or official kinds of things. We understand that out-of-school youth have different needs and capacities, and that in and of itself is what motivates our side of the house. Because if side government is worried about these individuals being bullied, being ostracized, being pushed to the margin, then I question the solution of keeping them so separate and alienating them even more, which pushes them to the margin. A few key points of setup coming from opposition bench to make this very clear. Number one, we understand that on both sides, the goal is to be able to help these individuals who are out of school for whatever reason, be able to get a job, be able to be incorporated, to be able to get a degree, and maybe even pursue advanced education like a master's and PhD down the line through the advent of things like scholarships and grants. But this debate is specifically about a government policy on what we're going to be able to prioritize. Both the ALS and traditional systems coexist and do exist, but this debate specifically happens in instances for out-of-school youth and what we have to do in those specific circumstances. That is to say, precisely because of things like scarcity of teachers and budget, both publicly and privately, the question then becomes for these people who are having some sort of struggle because they're poor or might be struggling because they're a bit slow and can't catch up, what are we going to do? And the answer is very simple. On-site government, they have to defend more non-formal means such as NSTP programs or maybe clubs and organizations out of their altruism, going to these barangays every weekend or once a week as part of their class and teaching them stuff like math, science, reading, values formation. Let's be very clear. What is our comparative and counterfactual? We want traditional schools to be able to have more levers of enrollment, meaning more slots and placements for these particular individuals. Things that look like increasing the class size to create more sections to accommodate these individuals to be able to improve the already poor student-teacher ratio. We also mean increasing scholarships and grants, both as merit if you qualify and get good grades, or financial scholarships and grants to be able to help those who are disenfranchised. This particularly is able to holistically incorporate and include them in the traditional educational system, which we understand might be a bit more diverse. But what we want for these people is to not make them feel more excluded and push them further into the margin. What has my argument been? What are the impacts here? The first impact is that it's the responsibility for the government and educational institution to be able to help these people be set up later on in life. I understand that they maybe started off a bit late, they might have certain sets of circumstances that afflict them, but the solution isn't to create this redundant and new separate program that alienates them, because the point in which, as the info slide says, they're gonna go back into the educational system after ALS. The question I then have is, won't they be bullied even more? Won't they be perceived as different or even weird even more? Which is exactly where the harms they try and preempt and accuse our side of comes to fruition, precisely because of government policy when you create these separate institutions. The push here is simple. Like I said in my pre-oration, things like special education programs, things like tech voc courses that have things like electricity, plumbing, pottery, and farming, by virtue of K-12, already bolster our traditional educational system to the full extent to be able to take care of them. The question their side might have, Joseph, you already have it. Why do we have to be able to do it more? Precisely because it's not yet fully in reach, and we want more state universities and colleges, both privately and publicly, to be able to continue granting even more access to individuals, as opposed to creating a new and separate redundant institution or program that in and of itself alienates and pushes these people to the margin even more. Even if this is something that they want, even if this is something comfortable to them, we think part of growing up and part of learning in an educational system is being exposed to diversity and plurality of views and beliefs, meaning being exposed to those people who are richer than you, those people who have different religions and beliefs than you, those who might not come from a particular gender minority or racial minority background, because we live in such a pluralistic society that is a microcosm of life that happens outside the university. So, if we want to be able to properly equip and help these individuals succeed in the long run, the solution isn't to shelter or alienate them, it's to bring them into the program, put them in the fold. We are very happy to stand on side opposition. Thank you.